Hi, this is Gordon Tooley with Tooley's Trees here in Truchas, New Mexico. We have a tree farm at about 8,000 feet, and we grow heirloom apples, pears, cherries, pie cherries, plums, and many other species and habitat plants. We're going to do some tree planting guidelines. The most important part of the longevity of a tree and that it has a good vigorous long life is correct planting. Before I remove the soil from the hole, I like to turn it over in the perimeter of the hole. This tree is in a 16-inch root control bag, so we're going to dig about a 32-inch wide hole. The tree should never be planted any deeper than where the trunk flare is on the tree. These are where your first lateral roots are visible, right at ground level. That's the grade that tree was planted in the nursery, and it's the same grade that it's going to go into in this hole. I like to break it up a little bit. This is really heavy clay soil. It is mostly worm castings, so we have a really healthy soil here. The worms have done their job of breaking the soil down, helping create an environment where roots can venture out. We've got the bacteria in the soil that's important for the roots and nutrient uptake. The top of the tree, everything from right here on up, is simply the mechanism for making leaves, fruit, photosynthesizing, keeping the pump going. But what's going on underground is the most important part. One of these days when this tree is 15 feet wide, it's going to have 30 or 40 foot of lateral roots tied into this whole outer area. By inviting the roots out into a nice profile here, in one season, this tree will establish nicely and hopefully outlive all of us. Picking the right spot for a tree is just as important as how deep the hole is, how wide it is, and how you take care of it. Trees need stewardship. They need somebody there just about every day. Our ultimate goal here is to come into an undisturbed pedestal of soil. We don't want this tree ball to sink. So by planting it at the right depth, where the soil hasn't been loosened up, when we water this plant, this ball will be at the same grade as when it was planted here at the farm when it was young. Trees lose vigor when they're planted too deeply. It suppresses the growth, causes circling roots, crown gall, poor air exchange in the soil, and the tree may not do well, and it'll take, could take years to die, or it just may not make it at all. What it needs to do is go into native unamended soil. We want to encourage the roots to move right on in to that planting site and continue on out. Sometimes trees that are over amended tend to get the bathtub effect, and they may never venture out, and when the tree finally dies, you've probably pulled one out of the ground and seen that it still resembles a pot. To determine the proper planting depth, this is the trunk flare here, or the crown, the root crown. This is where our first lateral roots come out of the trunk. This is the natural grade. If you walk through the woods in the forest, you'll see that trees have a nice buttress that forms from the trunk, and then the root crown and the flare starts to come out at grade. This is where a tree that's properly planted in a nursery should be, and also in nature you'll see it a lot. We've laid a shovel down, so along the bottom edge of the shovel is where our fingers should line up, right here. We're pretty good on the money. Right here is the graft union on the tree. This had a whip and tongue graft on it. So this is where the rootstock meets our cultivar, green sweet. And I always put that union to the north for the cool side so that that union calluses over. If the union's on the south side, it tends to crack and heal up slower. We make a slice down two sides of the bag. This is an apple. It's a mid-season ripening apple. It's a green apple and very sweet, hence the name, and it comes from Maine. The bag comes off, and there you can see where we don't have any circling roots here. We've got nice calloused off little roots. And we're going to set this in the hole. Tree balls are like eggs. You've got to be really careful when handling a tree. If you break it, it's hard on them. More than just tough. Okay, I'm going to level it up a hair. Right about there. This apical point of the tree will find the center. This is where we're at. Our graft union's to the north. We're going to backfill. We're right on the money as far as the height goes. What I like to do is bring all the soil back into the hole, and then we'll find the crown of that tree again, right where that flare is. And there it is. We're going to make a nice basin for this tree. So when we water it in, the soil that we added to the hole is going to filter down back into one unit of soil again. Nice and easy. Not a lot of water volume, but we want this soil to soak it up and break down all these little particles of soil. A good deep soak. So finally we'll mulch this out beyond the drip line. This is, the mulch is probably the most important part aside from planting a tree properly, is that we want to encourage the moisture to stick around a little longer. We want to invite the worms and the other insects up. We want to create a little place for them. Worms love coming up underneath mulch, and this is all free stuff. This is old rotten straw and hay and manure, wood chips, grass, soil, sweat. The thing you want to do with mulching a tree is not let any mulch touch this area right here. This trunk needs to stay dry. When mulch builds up against a tree, it invites moisture, it invites insects that like to cause decay, and that invites bacteria, fungus, borers, restricted airflow, and lack of vigor. So this whole area right here on this young planted tree should be kept free of mulch. Everything that's going on in this root system is all out here. None of us have much time. The tree does. And we want somebody to inherit our good work and then plant thousands more.